The key felt heavier than it looked. Akito stood in front of apartment 302, the metallic jingle echoing in the quiet hallway. For 22 years, doors had been opened for him, or he had walked through them knowing exactly what was on the other side. Now, as the lock clicked and the door swung open, the air inside smelled of fresh paint and possibility. It was small, it was empty, and for the first time, it was entirely his. The next morning, Akito encountered his first challenge, the trash room. Clasping a blue bag, he stepped into the hall and bumped into a woman carrying a watering can. She looked up and offered a bright, knowing smile. "New neighbor?" she asked. "I'm Midori from 304. Don't forget, plastics are Tuesdays only." Akito felt a flush of heat in his cheeks, realizing he was holding the wrong bag for a Monday. By sunset, the apartment was a maze of brown cardboard. Akito sat on the hardwood floor, his back against a stack of boxes labeled kitchen. He had forgotten to buy a chair. He had also forgotten to buy a pot, a pan, or a fork. As the sky turned a deep violet outside his window, he peeled back the lid of a cup of instant ramen, the steam warming his face. It wasn't the feast his mother usually made, but the silence was surprisingly sweet. The grocery store was a battlefield of choices. Akito stood in the produce aisle, staring intensely at a head of cabbage. How did one know if it was good? He pulled out his phone to search for a video, his basket feeling heavier with every aisle he passed. He realized that living alone mostly meant making 1,000 tiny decisions every hour, from the brand of soy sauce to the thickness of the toilet paper. Disaster struck on Wednesday. Akito pulled his laundry from the small machine in the corner of his kitchen, only to find his favorite white button-down shirt had turned a pale, sickly shade of pink. A red sock, hidden like a spy in the folds of the fabric, fell to the floor. He stared at the ruined shirt, feeling a sudden, sharp pang of longing for the laundry room back home where magic seemed to happen. Nighttime was the hardest. When the city noise died down, the apartment felt cavernous. Akito lay on his new mattress, staring at the shadows cast by the streetlights on his ceiling. He thought about his parents' house, the sound of the television in the other room, the clatter of dishes, the comfort of not being the only heart beating in the house. He reached for his phone but stopped. He wanted to prove he could handle the quiet. Taking Midori's gesture as a sign, Akito decided to try again. He donned an apron, a moving gift from his sister, and stood before his single-burner stove. He chopped onions with slow, deliberate precision, his eyes watering but his hand steady. He followed a recipe for golden curry, the smell of turmeric and ginger beginning to fill the small space, replacing the scent of cardboard and dust with the smell of a home. A sharp knock on the door broke his reverie the next afternoon. It was Midori again, holding a small terracotta pot with a tiny, stubborn-looking succulent. "Every first apartment needs a roommate that doesn't talk back," she said, handing it over. Akito took the plant, its weight grounding him. "It's hard at first," she added softly. "But eventually, you'll stop hearing the silence and start hearing yourself." He sat down at his small, newly assembled table. The curry was a bit too spicy, and the rice was slightly sticky, but as Akito took the first bite, he felt a surge of pride. He looked around. He had hung a single-framed poster on the wall. The pink shirt was tucked away to be used as a rag. The succulent sat on the windowsill, soaking up the evening light. The apartment didn't feel empty anymore, it felt like a canvas. Akito stepped onto his small balcony, looking out over the sea of city lights. He wasn't just a visitor here anymore, he was a resident. He realized that being an adult wasn't about knowing everything, it was about being brave enough to make mistakes and fix them. He took a deep breath of the cool night air, tucked his hands into his pockets, and looked at the moon. He was home.